Good morning, everyone. My name is Ekaterina. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Immuniweb. Thank you for joining our webinar. Today, we will explore the emerging challenges of third-party risk management, growing attack surface, and dark web monitoring. We will then get practical insights on how to tackle these challenges in a simple and cost-efficient manner. At the end, we'll have brief questions and answers session, so you may ask all your questions. Now I'm happy to introduce Ilya, our Chief Architect and founder, who will lead this webinar today. Ilya, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, Ekaterina. Good morning, everyone. Hope you can see me well. Thank you for joining Immuniweb webinar today. It's a beautiful sunny morning in Geneva. As probably most of you at Immuniweb, we're now working from home. So we will be going through the state of cybersecurity industry exposure as a dark web report that I hope you all had an opportunity to quickly review. We'll be talking about emerging risks and threats, most of which have been bolstered by COVID-19 and also a series of different economic and political events. And the second part of the webinar will be a quick live demo to showcase how we can help at Immuniweb to tackling and to solving these challenges. And then we'll have about 10 minutes to answer any questions you wish to ask. Just in case any of your colleagues or you would like to join this webinar once again, we'll have another one 3 p.m. Swiss time and another one next Tuesday 5 p.m. Swiss time. I can see that we now have over 100 participants. We purposely did that our participant and clients and partners cannot see each other to ensure your privacy. I can see a lot of familiar names. Thank you for staying with Immuniweb. It's a pleasure to see all of you here. And let me start with a brief introduction for those who is unfamiliar with Immuniweb. Okay. So we're an application security company. We have businesses and customers in over 50 countries. Okay, and I think this number is even bigger as of today. Our community edition that you probably know recently passed a mark of 100 daily tests. So we're growing, we're delivering what we call foundational application security and privacy to SMEs, to governmental organizations, to non-profit organizations, to software developers, and we are excited to contribute something of value to the cybersecurity industry. Our machine learning technology received a considerable number of prestigious awards spanning from SC Awards Europe to Gartner Cool Vendor and IDC Innovator Report. I see a message that some of you can see each other. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Probably we have a intergroup visibility. We will check this just after the webinar. Thank you for sharing this with us. Just to ensure, I see that someone is saying that they cannot hear me well. Can you hear me well now? Ekaterina, is my sound okay?
Yes, normally, yeah.
Okay. So, briefly about myself. I started my penetration testing career at the age of 17. So I've been doing penetration testing, both network and application pen testing, practically speaking, all my life. At Immuniweb, I'm the chief architect of the platform. So I'm the person who's putting in touch our software engineers, our data scientists, our security analysts, our penetration testers. I'm the person who is leading our engineers to make our platform as comprehensive, as comfortable as possible. And I'm the person who is continuously looking to hear new feedback from our customers and partners. So just in case you have any suggestions being our customers or partners, please let me know directly. I also have a modest background in legal studies, mostly related to cybercrime law and investigation and prosecution of cybercrime. Um, and we are frequently supporting our customers in their compliance questions they have. Okay. So let's go through the brief findings of the state of the cyber security at I apologize. Here we go. So ignore the upper line. I took it from the previous slide. My apologies for this. So here's the findings. Here's the findings from the top cybersecurity companies around the globe. Very brief comment from my side. We've been very careful to ensure that the report will be statistically representative, that it will be generalizable. Okay, so what we did, we took different lists, coming from several sources. You can see all these on the report. We took different sources of leading or largest or most innovative cybersecurity companies around the globe. We carefully remove duplicates. We ensured that only cybersecurity companies will remain, because sometimes we have large organizations that have a cybersecurity division, but whose main business is not related to cyber, were included. So we carefully distilled and purified the data. Then we also removed all small companies or extraordinary big companies like IBM, because it's not their key business. Okay, and we ended up with approximately 500 different cyber security companies around the globe. Okay, so first thing, 97% of these companies have some data leaks and security incidents exposed on the dark web. This number may seem alarming, but let's try to understand what does it mean from a practical standpoint. Okay, so we found over 600,000 security incidents. Okay, and by security incident we may mean many different things. Okay, it can be stolen logins and passwords, probably one of the most simplest and banal things that we can find on the dark web. We also seen breached servers, sometimes involving customers' data being stored or processed there, that have been breached and put on sale. We saw some internal documents, some internal memos, confidential emails that were somehow stolen, probably by attacks against individual employees. Okay, so we had different incidents that we've been scoring. Okay, critical and high risk level means that the data is recent and or that the data is unique. Okay, because in the dark web of today you have many duplicates, because one cyber gang purchase a dump of logins and passwords and starts reselling, and other people purchase and resell it on their side. So we have a growing number of noise. Okay, we have a growing number of garbage, of pollution, if you wish. And at ImmuniWeb, we have our machine learning technologies that especially trained to distill, to purify the noise. Okay. Likewise, higher critical risk level usually means that this specific security incident may lead to a breach of a system. Okay, so something that may be a valid login or password for an internet exposed system, or for a web application or an API. So something that can reasonably lead to a breach of a production business system. Okay. This is a fairly big number, I have to say, even despite that some of these organizations who we've been carefully reviewing, they do have a lot of employees. We're probably talking about thousands of people, but still the numbers are fairly high. So an interesting finding is that 29% of stolen passwords, now we're talking about, stolen credentials type of the incident, okay, were weak meaning less than 8 characters length and without any special characters, okay. And we found that 161 company among 500 had employees who've been actually reusing their passwords. Okay, so this is actually a good reminder that human weaknesses will probably dominate our threat landscape. So we found, let's say, amusingly, we found over 5,000 records, logins, passwords, credentials from different inappropriate websites where we are not supposed to create an account using our professional email address, but it was the case. So I think it's a good reminder again that in cybersecurity company, we don't have only cybersecurity professionals. We have accountants, we have marketers, we have salesperson who should also follow, cybersecurity awareness training, who should follow IT hygiene trainings. And I think it's a good argument to say that cybersecurity companies should also invest into their own cybersecurity internal trainings. 63% of cybersecurity companies' websites do not comply with PCI DSS requirements, and 48% of their websites do not comply with GDPR requirements. To go into details, for the purpose of the research, we presume that these websites are to be compliant with PCI DSS requirements, even if they do not process, any credit cards. Okay. And likewise, we presume that they are to comply with GDPR, even if they do not have any single customer coming from the European Union. Okay. Why we did that? Because these requirements are fairly simple and stemming from, I would say, common sense and very foundational requirements. Okay, for example, PCI DSS expressly says that you should have a web application firewall. Okay, if there is no web application firewall, you do not comply. Okay. GDPR says that you should have a clearly and unconspicuously visible privacy policy on your website. Okay, and there are similar requirements, like your software should be up to date and should not contain any known vulnerabilities. I think it's about very foundational requirements. So when we're talking about non-compliance with PCI and GDPR, it's not necessarily about convoluted intricacies of GDPR, like that you cannot dismiss your DPO officer for investigating your company data handling practices. No, we're not going into this, convoluted complexities, but we're talking about very foundational requirements that are still not always being met. I guess the reason, or probably it would be fair to say one of the reasons we see such alarming numbers, that cybersecurity companies are now competing on a rapidly growing market, and they don't really have time to properly secure their own websites. And if you check, we have a number of important cybersecurity companies that simply make it running on WordPress. I'm not saying that WordPress is bad, they just, a clear indicator that they do not really invest time and resources to build their web applications, okay? At the end of the day, this may be a bad sign for their clients, because such, I would say, quick approach to their web applications, mobile applications, does not necessarily bring assurance to their clientele, okay? And to corroborate these findings with an independent source, okay, we've been going through the Open Bug Bounty project. This is a free and transparent Open Bug Bounty platform existing since 5 years, I guess. And we found that 91 companies from 500 had confirmed vulnerabilities reported on their websites, and 26% of these vulnerabilities was still unfixed when we released the report. Okay. Open Bug Bounty does not allow submitting intrusive vulnerabilities like SQL injection or remote command execution whatsoever. Okay. they mostly accept like improper access control, cross-site scripting, and so on. But even to say that, even if we all agree that probably, cross-site scripting is not a big deal, right? But I think that it just serving a very bad example if you're a cybersecurity company and you have unfixed vulnerabilities affecting your websites. Okay, so my conclusion is that the industry can definitely do better than this. Okay. Now let's have a look on the recent cybercrime report and news. Okay, so I did a small compilation for you. Okay, something that I've been watching in the news during last few weeks probably. So FireEye says that 51% of organizations do not believe that they are ready for cyber attack or breach. And I think this is a truly alarming number because, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have resources, okay, and probably in most of the cases, it's a toxic mixture of both, that there are no resources, I mean, no budgets, no people, and also there is no plan, okay, it sounds fairly bad, okay. Verizon says that over 80% in their Verizon data breach investigation report, you all certainly know. Verizon says that over 80% of the breaches involved brute force, meaning when you try one password and another password and so on until you manage to get the right password, or use of lost or stolen credentials. Here I'll probably separate these things, okay, because brute force means and implies that passwords are super weak, okay, and also that we do not have any, I would say, even simplest anti-brute force mechanism that are now present even in WordPress by default, okay, and use of lost or stolen credentials is another point that when employees are reusing same logins and passwords, they may unwittingly jeopardize their business, okay? Because we're all talking about unified identity management, we're all talking about single sign-on. However, for different practical and technical reasons, very few organizations that I know have actually implemented, them globally, holistically, and we still have systems, internal, external, that have absolutely no coordination of password policies, that are not centralized, and they are living their own life, okay? ServiceNow says that 60% of the last year breaches were linked to a vulnerability with an available security patch. I think Gartner has been speaking about this during the last 3 years, that 90% of exploited vulnerabilities had a patch available. Okay, so this is I wouldn't say that this is a big problem per se, because I think we all agree that vulnerabilities and weaknesses are to be prioritized, and we cannot just patch them all because we don't have resources, we don't have people, we don't have technology, right? But these numbers, 60% of breaches, means that we probably wrongly prioritize, okay, wrongly prioritize some systems, saying, this is an insignificant system, or we don't really care, and we will probably start our remediation efforts at the very end of this year. So it's a good indicator that prioritization of risks, of threats, how to classify them, how to rank them, is a big challenge today. Okay. Canada Security says, I would say, probably confirms the foregoing by saying that organizations of all sizes remediate just 10% of the discovered vulnerabilities. I think it is insufficient, okay, because we may accept that probably 10% of the existing vulnerabilities do not deserve to be patched, okay, because we may talk about isolated test systems, okay, where we don't really care. So this may be a reasonably acceptable risk, and that's fine, okay. But when we're talking about 10% of vulnerabilities that are actually being patched, I think something is wrong here, right? Catalyst incident response team said that ransomware attacks continue to dominate the threat landscape. Again, what does it likely mean is that we're dealing with outdated systems because very few large-scale and tailored ransomware campaigns involve 0 days vulnerabilities. They're too expensive, okay? And most of the ransomware is relying on publicly known vulnerabilities. Yes, cyber attackers are quick. They reverse patches as a matter of days. They make custom exploits and they send them into the wild. But it's not something that we really cannot protect. It's not something that we cannot foresee. And again, all these media scandals that we are observing these days, or probably during last 18 months, I think it's all attributable to poor management of our software, inconsistent patch management, and I would say other foundational problems that we should tackle soon. Okay, and at the end of the day, Ernst & Young says that only 6% of organizations had all their third parties included into the scope of their third-party risk management program. Okay. I think that's a very dangerous findings and trend if we take it as is, because I agree that we cannot scorecard all third parties, we cannot audit all third parties, but if we do not include them into meaningful, consistent, coherent framework, how to deal with them, how to inventory who has access to our data, how we can revoke access to this data. It is a very bad trend. And what we observe at Immuniweb that now some of organizations, they start waking up and they start urgently implementing third-party risk management program, and we see all type of extremes there. Okay, for example, I would probably say that vast majority are feeling reasonably satisfied with a template driven with boilerplate questionnaire, asking questions like, do you really have a web application firewall? Wow. We also see some other extremes. For example, we had several vendors, or probably I would say several accounts that implemented third-party risk management, clearly saying that if one day we are breached or hacked and your software or hardware or whatever service you provide is present in the segment, the network that is breached, you will be liable regardless whether your software or hardware caused the breach, whether you are negligent or not. We don't really care if your software hardware is present in the segment of the breach network, you will be financially liable. So we see all type of extremes, and I don't think that any extreme will bring any benefits. Okay. So let's move on. External attack surface in 2020. Okay, so what we see, what we should observe, and what we should consider. Importantly, I don't think that COVID-19 created any substantially or materially new challenges, okay? What I think COVID-19 pandemic did, it emphasized and, if you wish, vulgarized, previously existing problems and challenges. So there is nothing foundationally new in COVID-19. Okay, so what we see is that we have a surge of uncontrolled and probably uncontrollable working from home infrastructure. Okay, this is a challenge I think we all had starting from February or March, depending where you are geographically based. And I would say we had companies in the past who've been successfully working from home, and we had a considerable number of incidents, data leaks that were attributable to working from home. But we've been ignoring this, saying, we just have 1% of employees who are working from home, it's a low risk. When everyone had to shift to work from home, this became a truly big problem. We observe a growing, systematic proliferation of public cloud, IoT devices, containers, code repositories. All these things are designed to facilitate our IT operations, our businesses, to cut costs and so on. Okay, so however, the problem is that we are moving to cloud. We are moving to shift left development process. We are moving to continuous integration, continuous deployment. We are building different processes with inherent, usage of IoT. But we're not prepared. We do not have sufficient number of professionals who know how to properly configure AWS cloud. Okay, that's a that's the problem. It's nothing to do with technology. It's about implementing relatively novel technologies without making a coherent, well thought, meticulous strategy, processes, and procedure, and importantly, without hiring relevant people. Okay, so I think this is why we are observing so many data breaches incidents when we see companies who failed to protect their cloud storage and exposed millions of customers' data, credit cards, numbers, financial information, healthcare records, and so on. Okay. Outsourcing, offshoring, however you prefer to call it, subcontracting, this is something that is a new disaster, I would say, because now, in light of COVID as well, okay, many large organizations, they outsource many data handling, data storage, data processes to third parties. And again, that's absolutely fine, okay? If it makes sense, economically speaking and financially speaking, that's absolutely fine, okay? But we usually do not have inventory of the data. We do not have inventory of all third parties who have access. We do not have an understanding, a clear understanding who on their side may access our data, on which basis, how do we log this, how do we control this, how do we monitor this. And all these leads again to third parties who subcontract their duties to fourth parties who on their side subcontract, and at the end of the day we have our crown jewels, our data, dispersed everywhere around the globe. Shadow IT. Well, I think shadow IT probably is one of the oldest problems and challenges we all know fairly well. But now, during COVID-19, again, it was vulgarized, okay, because loyal people, loyal employees, they've been, working hard from homes. And given that they cannot access their CRM systems that by design was accessible only from their offices, they created their own Google Docs storage to share offers, to share client lists with their colleagues. I mean, who cares? We just make a small, data sharing resource. We don't really do anything bad. We're advancing sales. We're closing a quarter. We're doing good things. But at the end of the day, such self-help, resources, they may jeopardize our entire cybersecurity strategy. Okay. And open source, I would say last but not least, we see that many organizations and professional companies who sell software developing services, okay, they incrementally rely on open source, and again, that's perfectly fine per se. That's perfectly fine. It can help, and it does help because we don't need to reinvent bicycle every day. However, frequently we just hard code open source without even keeping an inventory, which components, which specific parts of open source we use. I'm not even talking about potential violation of licensing, okay? But I'm talking about these time bombs that are ready to explode ones, because organizations hire software developers who build them an e-banking, let's say, and suddenly they get breached by an open source vulnerability, saying, how comes we've never been told that there is an open source in this commercial software that we outsource to an external vendor? How comes it contained any external software components we've been not aware of this. So this is a challenge. Okay. So I'd like to emphasize that we have a rapid growth of technical resources, of different IT assets, digital assets, however we call them, and all of this in virtual absence of control and monitoring. Okay, so it's nothing to do with shortage of cybersecurity professionals, because I do believe that this problem is largely exaggerated. It's nothing to do with AI or whatsoever. No, I think that a root cause of the problem is that we should have a clear, coherent, and consistent cybersecurity strategy. Okay. Otherwise, all these great tools that you see on my screen now are becoming great risks. Okay. So quickly moving on, predominating cybersecurity challenges in 2020. Okay. Compliances. I think compliance is a challenge today, and it's becoming a major risk because we have so many different countries, so many different, industries that are trying to implement their own regulation. That at the end of the day, too much regulations kill regulations. Okay, we have California Consumer Privacy Act. Okay, that is similar, I think, comparable in some aspects to European GDPR. Okay, now many other US states are thinking about making their own state regulation instead of making a federal regulations. They're trying to make something in-house. That's not bad, but imagine if one day we have to comply with regulations about privacy from 50 states in the US. Will we do so? Probably not. Okay. So that is to say, we see that many organizations and companies, they have to cut their cybersecurity budgets. Okay, saying we are required, we're legally required, we're obliged as a matter of law to make sure that we have paper-based compliance. And this is why we have to shift cybersecurity, practical security things to the second position in our budgeting. And this is how probably 2021 will be for many of the organizations around the globe. Okay. Statistics. I'd like to attract your attention to some of the statistics reports that obviously coming from Gartner, IDC, Forrester. They all say, some great news like we spend more on cybersecurity, our budgets are increasing, our budgets are growing, and a lot of, inspiring, motivating things. However, statistics may be tricky, okay? We do have growing number of spending, and we do have a growing number of cybersecurity budgets. But the trick is that if, let's say, 5 years ago, we had 100 IT assets, servers or desktops or cloud instances, whatever you prefer, and we had a budget that is higher by 50% today, we will probably have at least 10,000 of IT assets. So we're talking about growing budget, but budgets are growing disproportionately to the to the rapidly growing number of IT assets. And we also have some very specific assets we don't know how to scale, because when we're talking about desktop machines, it's fairly simple to build, AV, EDR systems, right? But when we're talking about novel IoT monitoring technology, where captors are connected to our production systems and connected to internet, God knows how to protect this. So budgets are growing, but infrastructure and complexity are growing even faster. So I would say that this good news is just a smoke screen to cover the challenges CISOs and senior security people have, because they do have small increase and gradually growing budgets, yeah, but the scope of challenges, their attack perimeter, the number of assets they are required to protect is just growing exponentially. Okay. Again, going back to shadow IT, because of the complexity, because of the rapid growth, we have missing incomplete or clouded visibility of our digital or IT assets. Okay. This is one of the biggest challenges because we all know that we cannot protect what we cannot see. Okay. We also have, too many cybersecurity vendors coming with disjoint solutions, and frequently we even have to make, centralized systems, to aggregate their all inputs, all data, all reports coming from countless vendors. Okay, we even invented, vulnerability orchestration, where we have to put into one single system and correlate vulnerabilities coming from different sources. I'm not saying that it's bad per se, and probably I'd say diversity and healthy competition is definitely great. But I think today we have just too many cybersecurity companies who are capable to mirror each other and who mostly compete by pricing or marketing or sales buffering. This is something that I think does not help sustainable growth of the cybersecurity industry. Okay. And last but not least, something that we'll be talking now, well organized, we can even say commoditized driven cyber criminals who cannot rely on venture funding, who cannot rely on generous investors who will always support you with money. If you're a cybersecurity startup, you can easily find free cash. No, they know that they are supposed to survive themselves, and they do this fairly well. Okay, they have strict organizations, they have commoditization of labor. How it works? Most frequently, we have different cyber teams, cyber crime teams, who have their focus or profile. Compared, let's say, to the beginning of 2000s, I'd say, where we had cyber gangs who've been doing everything in-house. Now they outsource and subcontract, if you wish to use business jargon. We have organizations that collect email addresses, reliable email addresses, much better than any professional marketing organizations that now struggle with GDPR. But cyber gangs, they collect up-to-date emails, they collect phone numbers, they collect everything, and then they resell it to professional gangs who are specialized in phishing. Phishing gangs purchase malware, ransomware, sometimes 0 days from other gangs who have focus in building highly efficient and effective, malware. And then they also hire, and we see this, more and more, that cyber criminals have access to different industry experts like financial experts, lawyers, psychologists. Why? Because when you're creating a phishing, especially a spear phishing campaign, you should be aware what are the pain points of the industry. What is the specific challenge this organization has? They've been fined by SEC for non-compliance of stock trading. Oh, great. We will send them a forged email from SEC commission, and we'll try to scare them off, and they will likely send us whatever data we ask them. Okay, so cyber criminals are becoming super smart, well organized, and they also think about economically efficient and effective. This is probably the biggest difference we see with cyber security industry, because in cyber security industry, I think some organizations are relaxed because they know that investors will invest more and we have free cash and we don't really care. Everyone makes mistakes. Why shouldn't we? I think it's a bad approach, and actually I think that one of the reasons that cyber criminals are winning the battle for the time being, because they know that they cannot afford to lose. So now, what we did at ImmuniWeb to support our clients and partners in addressing most of the challenges we've been covering just now. We built ImmuniWeb Discovery. It is as inclusive and at the same time as simple to use as a Swiss Army knife. Okay. The idea is super simple. Prior to starting investing into cybersecurity or whatsoever, you should have a visibility. You should have a helicopter view of your external attack surface. Okay. How it works, you just enter your company name, nothing else is required. Okay, so you don't need to provide us with any IP addresses, with any subnetworks, with any list of your assets that may be confidential or internal. Nothing is required. We'll be using non-intrusive, production-safe, open source intelligence technology to crawl the entire web, surface, deep and dark web, and to enumerate, all the resources that are attributable to your organization and are visible, searchable, crawlable, identifiable somehow from the internet. We'll provide you with a holistic view of all your assets. I'm talking about APIs, I'm talking about network services, I'm talking about VPNs, I'm talking about IoT devices, I'm talking about web interfaces for containers, I'm talking about many things that you have in mind. We're also talking about mobile applications. Importantly, we're talking about third-party resources, okay? Like if you have accounts or data processed or stored somewhere, we will try to enumerate this and share this information with you. And we also go to dark web and code repositories, for example, to understand the threat landscape that surrounds your business, because we believe that in 2020, visibility of your assets is essential, okay? But without having a comprehensive understanding of the surrounding threat landscape and context, it will unlikely help, okay? So now I will quickly stop sharing my screen. Please stay with us. I will start sharing my browser in a few seconds. I'm just logging into the system and I'll show you how it looks like. All right, so here we go. Firefox. Here we go. Ekaterina, can you please just tell me whether you can see my screen well now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So this is how Immunium Discovery dashboard looks like. And I reiterate once again, all you need to get this dashboard is just to enter your company name, nothing else. You can see 6 tabs on the top of my screen. Top left is called Web, okay? You will be able to see all your external web applications, APIs, microservices, single-page applications, everything that you have related to web, okay? You will be able to see DNS health status. You will be able to see geographical location. You will be able to see when the domain name expires, when the SSL certificate expires. You will be able to see whether any malicious content may be injected by domain takeover. You will be able to see whether any malware like cryptojacking or mage card attacks were found. So you'll have a comprehensive overview of what is going on, okay? Likewise, you will be able to see which assets are behind the web application firewall, okay? Importantly, at ImmuniWeb, we have one of the most comprehensive and inclusive software composition analysis technology. So we'll carefully and non-intrusively crawl your applications, okay? So to fingerprint the software you have, okay? And we'll tell you which specific software you have, which specific plugins, extensions, JavaScript libraries and framework you have, and we'll tell you whether they have any vulnerable or outdated components. So it will provide you with an inclusive, with an ample picture, how good or how bad things are, okay? Likewise, you will be able to see tangential things like whether your SSL TLS configuration conforms to requirements of PCI, NIST, HIPAA. You'll see whether your website configuration complies with GDPR requirements and so on. On the top right of my screen, you will also be able to see estimated risk scoring. So you see hackability and attractiveness score. Hackability is a score from 0 to 99. Likewise, attractiveness and hackability is how technically hackable your application is, okay? And attractiveness, how generally attractive your application within the context of your business would be for cyber criminals, okay? So the reason is, the reason to provide the scores is simple. We enable our clients, most of which have thousands or even tens of thousands of external applications, okay, to understand the priorities, the order in which to tackle, to assess, to protect, to defend their applications. Because in our experience, approximately 30% of applications that we discover are unknown to our customers, and 30% is an average. So I would say we did have some clients who were unaware about 95+% of the applications that we discovered. Okay. And the idea is simple. When you have thousands or tens of thousands of applications, your first question would be, what's next? And the answer is simple, and I'd say it's based only on common sense. Okay, you start with all your applications with hackability and destructiveness exceeding 95, then 90, then 85, then 80, and so on until you attain a comfortable or acceptable risk level. So we provide our customers with a consistent, coherent, risk-based approach, saying how to address, this multitude of applications, APIs, and web services. Okay. In Mobile tab, you will be able to see your mobile applications. Okay, we go into over 30 public and official stores. Okay, so you will be able to see all your applications, all your mobile apps from there. Okay. Data storage. Here you will be able to see your cloud. We're talking about Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, AWS, of course. And importantly, you will also be able to see all your databases like Elasticsearch, MongoDB that were accountable for disastrous data leaks in the last 18 months, probably. And finally, something we've been just mentioned before, third parties. If you have your accounts or your data process stored in Salesforce, Slack, in Zoom, in Webex, wherever, we'll let you know, because we see that many of our customers, they forget about this, and they always appreciate when we bring this to their attention, saying, you know what, you don't just have your local CRM, but you also have another live copy in Salesforce, and make sure that you have, this included into your cybersecurity and compliance program. Okay. Network services. This is a fairly new tab we created during pandemic following requests from our customers. Here you'll be able to see all your critical network services spanning from remote desktops and VPNs to SSH servers, FTP servers, email servers. You'll be able to see container management interfaces. You'll be able to see voice over IP management interfaces, IoT devices. As a matter of anecdote, probably, most frequent findings of an IoT device is a CCTV camera, okay? But we had some cases where we discovered almost a SCADA type device, when we had a web interface that allowed managing air conditioning system in a building of 25 floors, I guess. So sometimes we discover many interesting things that are not supposed to be accessible, from the outside by definition and by design. Okay. Code repositories. This is a big point, and some of large organizations miss it today, and we're trying to remediate this. So code repositories, we will go to all publicly available, repositories like GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, and others. Okay. And we will try to find two use cases. First one is when your developers or your subcontractors or their subcontractors, meaning your force parties, okay, accidentally or negligently or carelessly exposed your source code. These days, source code may be an intellectual property per se, but most frequent risks that we observe that when we have hard-coded API keys, hard-coded passwords, or any, pieces of the source code where you can find exploitable vulnerabilities that you cannot otherwise detect from the outside. Okay, so we will illuminate your source code exposure. Second, and I would say fairly interesting approach here is to detect any malicious source code. Okay, malicious means that it can be an exploit code. Okay, as a simplest example, targeting your organization or your assets. Okay, to give you an example, we recently had a company in the United States, a major media company. We found that a group of security enthusiasts managed to bypass their API authentication and scrub the data from the APIs. Okay, it was a premium content designed only for their paying subscribers, and they've been struggling for about 3 months to understand how comes the sales of subscriptions is so poor. We found that this simple, script was actually proliferated on GitHub, allowing to download their premium content. And they were super excited about this because even if the vulnerability was not dramatic itself, the financial and economic consequences were disastrous. So this is an example how code repositories monitoring can help. Okay. Incidents. This is one of the most interesting part of the discovery. Here you will see a compilation of all possible bad things that could ever happen to your organization in deep or dark web or surface web, and that are visible or identifiable from the outside. Okay, so we're obviously talking about different leaks and data breaches and password collections available largely on underground marketplaces, hacking forums, Telegram channels, IRC channels. We will, on top of this, tell you about any ongoing phishing campaigns targeting your customers or partners. We will tell you about any indicators of compromise of the assets that you have in other tabs. For example, if someone blacklists your email server, well, you'll be informed. If someone marks your IP address as an IP address participating in denial of service attack or hacking activities, you will get informed about this. Okay. You will see all malicious activities related to your trademark and brand names by domain squatting, social network squatting, something that is growing now. People try to squat Twitter accounts and pose as your free or premium technical support, charging your customers money for free support, but they resell your free support. So this is something you will be informed as well. We're not trying, to separate deep web, dark web, surface web, because I'd say it's fairly philosophical discussion, I would say. Just to give you an example, pastebin. Okay, pastebin is by definition and technical and legally speaking has absolutely nothing to do with deep or dark web. It's a perfectly legitimate resource, but we have a great wealth of stolen data, logins, passwords, interesting things we can find there. At ImmuniWeb, we have probably one of the most inclusive collections available from pastebin. We have their archive since 2014, I guess. And even if someone has posted something in 2016 and in 2017 it was deleted, we will likely detect this and bring to your attention. Okay. Likewise, if someone tweets about a SQL injection affecting your subdomain, we will detect this, we will bring this to your attention. Okay, so we're trying to bring you the surrounding context, the threat landscape, because your attack surface is actually composed of your digital and IT assets, okay, in-house and external ones. It is extremely important to have visibility, but it is likewise essential to understand the surrounding threats circle, okay, to understand how to prioritize, how to apportion your resources, your budgets, your people. And at the end of the day, what we do at ImmuniWeb with ImmuniDiscovery, we're supporting our customers and partners to start their application security and compliance program and many other cybersecurity processes. We're supporting them to start it in a well-thought, well-informed, threat-aware, risk-based manner. Okay. So we always suggest that our clients and partners, if they want to make a holistic and robust and probably we can say sustainable application security program, and instead of spending on application security, investing into application security, we always suggest starting with this non-intrusive open source based discovery. Okay. I can see that the timing is short, so probably that's it with live demo. Okay. Unfortunately, I could not cover all points I wanted. As you probably noticed, I adore talking about ImmuniWeb, being its chief architect. I hope I was not too long on some of the aspects. Let me quickly get back to my slide. Here we go. So thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure to see all of you. It was a pleasure to see all the new people who I had not the pleasure of meeting before. And it's also a pleasure to meeting all of you who are coming to our webinars since a while. Thank you so much. You are the people who make ImmuneWeb successful. I'm personally, and all of us at ImmuneWeb, we're carefully listening to your comments, suggestions, feedback, and you see that we are improving our platform, improving our services, improving our community edition almost every day. And it's always great to hear your feedback, to hear your suggestions, your thoughts. It's a pleasure. So now I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Please send them into the chat. You can send them to group chat, or you can send them to me personally, and I'll be excited to answer them. So I can see a private question incoming, whether we may do discovery for Asia Pacific countries where the company names are not in Latin or not in English. Yes, we can. We have clients from Japan. We have clients from Russia. We have clients from Hong Kong. We have clients from Singapore. So we are well familiar to different character sets. And if you need any support, to clarify, we can definitely do this for you. I see another question. So can we use ImmuneWeb for static testing? I'd say, unfortunately, the answer is no. Okay, we are not competing with Checkmarx or Veracode, and I think Checkmarx and Veracode are doing their job very well. However, if we're talking about software composition analysis, it is definitely a static application security testing technology. So if you are looking just to inventory your applications and understand their versions, components, it's something that we can do. Another question, can you go through the difference between the mobile suite and the Discovery Mobile? Sure. So mobile suite is a mobile application penetration test. Okay, where we'll be doing penetration test of the mobile application and also of its backend. I mean, any APIs or microservices where the mobile application sends or receives data from. It is enhanced and enforced with many beautiful things like zero false positive SLA. We do both automated and manual testing. We will reverse engineer business logic. So it will be a holistic, inclusive penetration test if we're talking about ImmuneWeb mobile suite. Okay. Talking about discovery and the mobile tabs, there you'll just be able to see your mobile applications detected, okay? And if we have a possibility to download the application, for example, you can download them from Google Play, but legally and technically you cannot from Apple Store. If we can download it, we'll conduct automatic scanning, okay? And we'll show you a WASP top 10 for mobile, okay? So it's not pen testing, it's really automated scanning when we can automatically download the application. A request to see the video, yes, we will be sending videos by email, of course. Next one, how we can get the security monitoring system, and what is the best tools for it to get the security monitoring system? Well, I'd say it really depends what you're looking to include into the scope of your monitoring. If we're talking about application ecosystem, probably I would flatter a little bit myself. I'd say probably ImmuneWeb is the most inclusive one, okay? However, if you're looking to monitor specifically, I don't know, IoT devices, and you have very unique requirements, I would say it really depends whether you're looking just to detect them, whether you're looking to test them, whether you have any industry niche specific compliances. If we're talking about application ecosystem, I mean all your web, mobile APIs, and also network services, IoT devices, I think Immunweb Discovery will be a good fit. But if it's something more specific, I think we should consider the priorities that you have. So, does the meaning of discovery search on pastebin alternatives? Well, it depends what we call pastebin alternatives, but we have a growing list of different paste websites. Okay, so likely, yes, we do. Can you go through the difference? This one we had already. And I apologize for clock in my background. It's 11 in Geneva. Does it have an on-prem version? No, unfortunately not, because practically speaking, it's an OSINT technology and we are supposed to be located outside. However, if you are concerned of your data storage, we can make sure that all your data will be stored separately in your country, in your jurisdiction. So if it's only about data storage, we can make sure that all the data you have will be securely stored apart. Do you have a problem servicing a Syrian company? Well, I'm not aware of this. We will probably need to check with our legal counsels. So please drop us an email. We'll see whether we have any restrictions to supply our business to there. Can we integrate Immunweb with the Hive or Splunk? Yes, we do have built integrations with them. You can also access all the data by the API. You can also download the PDF. You can also download the JSON. You can also download an XLS. So integrations with DevSecOps, CI/CD, you have them all. Well, talking about guidelines to fix in discovery, you will have, I'd say, common sensical guidelines. Okay, so it's not that detailed and not that actionable as in our penetration testing services. Okay, but I would say an average engineer or software developer, when he or she sees the specific issue or non-compliance, they will easily fix it. Okay, so I would say it's not that detailed, that personalized, that actionable as in pen testing that we offer, but you'll definitely find a response to all your questions. So I think that's it. Thank you so much once again for joining. We will have identical session at 3 p.m. Swiss time. So if you or your colleagues would like to rejoin, it will be our pleasure. Likewise, next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Swiss time. Again, please, if you'd like to invite your colleagues, your peers, your teams, please do so. We're always happy to see you. And now that's it from my side. I also would like to warmly thank Ekaterina and our sales team, everyone, for making this webinar possible. They've been working hard to make sure that everyone can attend. So thank you. And I think it was a great webinar today. Ekaterina, I'm passing the floor to you now.
Thank you, Ilya. Thank you, everyone, to join.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, all of you, to join us today. And I hope to see you in the near future or here in Geneva or during our next webinar.
Great.
Have a great day, everyone.